we have got front discs, rear pads, front pads. We are changing them all on the Fiesta today. I know you're all thinking, what's up with the endless pads? We get that in a minute. Firstly, let's have a look at what we got. So it's all EBC. We got EBC fronts, solid, rears are solid. By solid, I mean they're not grooved. We got the EBC bluestuff rear pads and the new RPX front pads. Now, let me explain firstly how all this came about. So I'll tell you exactly the truth. These RPX pads are supplied by EBC. They gave them to me for a test, so I haven't bought these, so I'm telling you that straight away. I'm still going to give you a fair and unbiased opinion on them. So because I had these, I wanted to give them a fair test, so I decided to change everything. So I've bought the discs and I've bought the rear pads. I wanted to do a full change purely because the previous discs, which are bare, are not in perfect condition. So let me show these to you. As you know, I've been running genuine foil on the front, and these have got some crazing in them. Let me get a light for you. I don't know if this will show up in the light in here, but there's quite a bit of crazing, cracking starting. I did show on the last video. Like I said, some of the Fiesta boys who run these on endless pads have said that they don't get much worse and it'll just last like that and be fine. But anyway, because I was changing to, say, the EBC RPX pad, I thought, well, it's only fair that I put a new disc on, and then they can be a backup disc if they crack in future. So before I show you the endless pads, the condition they're in, let me just tell you a little bit about the RPX. This is the highest performance race pad that EBC make at the moment. They claim that this can compete with endless, which is why I'm keen to give it a try. If I'm honest, as much as I love endless, I have zero problem with it. It's been absolutely brilliant. They're so expensive. I am looking for cheaper alternatives, so this is where I went to EBC and asked if I could test the pad. So the plan is, if this works out and they are on par with endless, I've got a cheaper alternative. Now, bear in mind, these are half the price of endless, so as long as they are as fade resistant as endless, I consider that a win. But I'm not going to say I expect them to last as long as endless, because endless are quite an endurance pad. But if they last more than 50%, I would much prefer to spend half the price on pads, spend it twice. I know it sounds stupid, but it's not as much out of your pocket in one go. The main thing is fade. Obviously I want them to last, but we'll see how it goes. So I put the EBC bluestuff on the back because I've never really run a decent track pad on the back, and we've got a solid disc on there. Now let's have a look at the condition of the endless. Now, I have got an issue with the calipers. They're there. One was binding a little and wore one of the pads down. So if you look here, this pad is worn less than the others. So let's just show you there. Let me get a comparison and see the difference. So I've measured them all. I've got 7mm of pad material left on 3 of the pads, except for that one, which is down to 5. Bizarrely, I've only wore the one down rather than both pads on that one caliper. So there's plenty of life still left in them. Now, measuring these, they start out with 11mm of pad material. Like I said, down to 7mm on 3 of them, 5 on the other. So there's still plenty left, plenty of life left in the 3 of them. If they're all at 7mm, it would be better, but it is what it is. I'll show you what is the condition of the calipers in a minute. Next thing is pad size. Now, I've got standard pad here, so let me just put the camera down there. Right, so what I was a little bit surprised about is that's a standard pad. I didn't realise the endless pad is actually smaller than a standard pad. See the difference there? So a little bit less. But these were better than the DS2500, because DS2500 are not as wide. They're the worst of all. Now if we take the EBC pad, they've mimicked the shape completely, so it's exactly the same as a standard pad. They followed it completely. So I don't know why Endless went a bit smaller, to be honest with you, because when you're dealing with such small brakes, every little helps. Now speaking of small brakes, these rear pads are just a joke, and look how small they are. They are so tiny, but obviously that's not just because of the bluestuff. That is the size of the pads anyway. They're all small. Right, let's get on to my calipers. Let me show you the car. Right, as you can see, I've already swapped over to a set of red. Reason being, I've had these calipers. I had a set of red calipers for quite a while. Let me turn my light off. And I didn't realise I had both a left and a right. I thought they had two rights. They just spares from when I've been working on the other cars. I didn't put them on because, in the past, because I didn't realise I had a pair. I wasn't bothered about red calipers because they just burn on track anyway. But I was kind of forced into changing them because what I said about that pad wear, it turns out even though the sliders and everything were moving free, the piston was moving free, but the seal was just destroyed. Look, it's gone very brittle. So what I did was just swap to reds, put the setting on that I had, because the seals are in perfect condition. I've spent a lot of time cleaning them up. I've done these sliders are all moving free, clean and greased. I've cleaned everything up. The guides here, cleaned them up. So I want to make sure all the pad is can move freely. I've cleaned all of that ready, so we're ready for the discs to go on. So basically everything is prepped. So all I've got to do is just basically fit everything. But I've also got a problem with the rear pads. Now the driver side, as I said in the last video, just smoked through the pads. So we've got to look at that and find out why that has worn the pad down too quick on the rear, because with the cost of all of this, I don't want to burn through them unnecessary for sticking calipers. So first thing I do is finish fitting the fronts here, and then we'll get on to the backs. So the disc's ready to go on. I like to grease around there, try and keep it as clean as possible. Disc is all cleaned up. Got rid of any oils that is on there. So like that. And if you're wondering why I'm not using a slotted or dimpled disc, is purely because when you're spending as much on pads as what I have been, I want them to last. If you've got groove discs, they wear quicker, especially with the Endless. When over £300 a set of front pads, I want them to last as long as possible. So that's why I prefer solid, purely just to make your pads last a bit more. Right, so with that on, I'll now put the caliper for the pads in. Also worth mentioning, the backing on these is stainless steel. Now I think the theory behind that is it's better at not transferring heat through to the piston in the caliper. That might be part of the reason why these are baked. So hopefully that will be better. You'll see some people, they'll put I think a titanium backing plate behind the disc to try and stop the heat transfer through. So the benefits are, obviously it doesn't burn your seals, hopefully. Shouldn't boil the fluid as much because it's not transferring so much heat to the caliper. I think that's a theory. The other thing worth mentioning, is just come back to my memory, is EBC are doing buy one get one free. So you can buy the RP1 first, which is, well, read on the website about them. You can buy the RP1, use it, once you finish with it, send it back, and then I'll send you a set of RPX, or vice versa. But I recommend you buy the RP1 first, because it's cheaper, and then you get the RPX for free later. So I think that deal runs until the end of this year. Alright, all finished. Later on, as you see, the calipers are not in perfect condition. There's a lot of paint chips on them, because they have been banging around in the shed, and before I had them they would chip quite a bit, but they'll do for now. I'd say they're not going to stay red for long once they start using on track, but for now that looks pretty good. So now we're going to turn our attention to the back and find out what the problem is with that back caliper. Right, so I've stripped the back brakes off, and the first thing to check is your sliders. As you can see, that's moving freely, because the most common problem with these type of calipers is they seize and kill your pads. But that's fine, although I am going to strip them down and clean them up again. Look at this pad. Actually, I've just noticed something. If you look at that, I've got that in wrong and it's buckled it over, so that must be the cause of it. I hadn't spotted that. I've been looking at the pads for the last 5 minutes, looking at the way, and I hadn't spotted that that little metal spring was bent over. So what must have happened is this. That's a shame. It must have been in like that. Right, so that explains what's going on. So it's been binding the pad, because when you look at the way, if you can see, it's all like a wedge on the top. I can't believe I didn't spot that. So when you fit your pads, people, make sure your springs are in right. So it was only that one. Oh, that's a shame, because that, like you say, that's really smoked up that pad for no reason. You look at this side, the other side, and the wear on them is much better. Actually, it's done the same on there. I'm sure when I fitted these I didn't do that. Maybe I did. Maybe it is my fault. Done on both of them. Can't believe I didn't notice that till now. Now I'm normally pretty careful doing that. When I put the pads on, I always check that they are in tidy. Is it possible they've moved of their own accord, or is it just my error? Well, I'm going to have to chalk that up as my fault, but I'm pretty sure I checked when I fitted them that they were right, but I guess they couldn't have been. So that explains, I guess, my weird pad wear. Right, so the sliders are all cleaned up. Also, all in these areas here, I've cleaned them out with a Stanley blade and then sanded them, done both sides, so the pads can move. One thing I want to mention, because I know someone's going to bring it up, if you look at the back of that pad, you can see that I did get the piston lined up at the star shape, so that wasn't anything to do with pad wear. So I know someone will mention it if I don't mention it first. Right, all fitted. I've made sure that the springs are in right. I used my mirror and checked everything in there. Now I normally do that anyway, because I've had it before on my last car. Same type of pads, same brakes actually on the Focus, and I've had the same thing happen with the spring, and I've always been careful since. I'm finding it difficult to believe that I done that on both of them with it sticking up. If you've ever seen that happen, let me know. I'm wondering whether it's just a problem, something that can happen of its own accord, or did I actually get it wrong? There you are. Anyway, they're all done. Everything's nice and free. Front's all done, as you saw. So the old car is done. All 4 corners sorted. The other thing as well, I measured the thickness of the pads, so I want to say this in video so that I've got a reference in the future if I forget. So the bluestuff rear pads were 8mm material thick, because sometimes I'd forget and I think, well, I can come back to the video, and I said it in the video. So new with the 8mm material, front 11mm. Right, I think that I pretty much covered everything with the brakes. Right, I'm not going to do a bedding in test drive or anything in this video. I've got, because you know, if you watch the last video, we changed out the rack spacers, so the ride height's got to be changed. Probably what I never told you is from the video before, actually went another 10mm lower. So anyway, I've got to redo the ride out through the whole car. Complicated, but there you are. So that's got to be done. All the brace got to be bled. Then I've got to do a string alignment, so that's going to take me into the next day or two to find time to do all of that. So I think I pretty much, yeah, that is it. So I will let you know soon what I think of the pads. Follow me on Instagram. Perhaps I'll put something on there what I think about for a test drive. Maybe I'll make a test drive video. I'm not sure. We'll see. But in the last video, was it the last video? One before last, I said if you stuck till the end, let me know. Loads of you did. Thank you very much for doing that. You don't have to do it in this one, but I just appreciate that you are watching all of my boring spiel, because I'm not the most interesting guy, but there you are. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to see you on the next video soon. Quickly, we're going to Castle Combe in a couple of weeks. Just get that in, right? I definitely am going now. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon. Bye.